Rachel, who I believe was 23 years old when she was killed, March 16, 2003, 3 days before the invasion of Iraq. She was living in Gaza, in Rafah, and she knew the families very well. She would learn Arabic from the children. She would teach them English. And it was, I think, a Sunday, March 16th. And the Israeli military bulldozers were moving in on the house of a family, a Palestinian pharmacist family who she knew well. She put on that kind of orange fluorescent construction vest and stood in front of their house, along with a few other Western activists. And the Israeli military bulldozer, made by Caterpillar here in the United States, ran over her, crushed her, and then ran over her again, crushed her twice. And they killed Rachel Corrie, a student at Evergreen College in Olympia, Washington. I was invited to give the commencement address a year later at Evergreen. It was the largest Evergreen graduation class ever. And that's when I got to know Rachel's parents, because they had come to receive her diploma for her, Cindy and Craig Corrie, and Cindy spoke, and it was deeply moving as the whole Olympia community acknowledged Rachel and her bravery. And then that night we both flew to Washington to the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee annual meeting. Professor Edward Said was giving a speech, the well-known Palestinian activist and professor of comparative literature at Columbia University. It would be one of his last. He died of cancer. And he acknowledged the Corries in the front, in the audience, and how brave their daughter was when we were filming his last speech. But people in this country hardly know Rachel's story, and how many people from around the world have worked on this issue, now confronting it, putting their bodies on the line, though trying to ensure that there's aid to the people of Gaza should not mean putting anyone's body on the line. Now, just as it's absolutely critical in the Gulf explosion story to get out the whole issue of sustainability and what the alternatives are, it's critical that we hear, and I have rarely heard this in the corporate media, why these people were going to Gaza. What are the conditions on the ground that would cause people to do this? And you don't have to go far or dig that deep. Just a UN study out of the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said, as a consequence of Israel's blockade of the Gaza Strip, 98% of industrial operations have been shut down since 2007, and there are acute shortages of fuel, cash, cooking gas, and other basic supplies. See, one of the things that the Israeli government does is says, there's no problem in Gaza. What are these people doing? And was this actually a humanitarian mission, or were they doing this to call attention to what was happening in Gaza? This is what the Israelis